I always feel that parents should actually, to become parents, you should have a license.
I also think so.
That's eugenics, guys.
You doing?
No, but of course the license, not like it's like a table format, like 5 point, 10 point kind of thing.
Like you go through a course.
Yeah, some sort of thing. You want to drive, you also need license, what? Then you want to have kid, you don't need a license.
Our new initiative, weKaypoh, introduces Parenting 101.
Today we're going to be talking about parents apologizing first in a relationship. Okay, so from your own experience, like, or stories that you hear around, like, do you think that like parents like tend to apologize first in Singapore?
No, of course not.
For my parents, they did, but it was like very small little stuff, you know, like they're not into me. Then they say sorry. But
Out of instinct.
yeah. Or if like they took one of my things, then they realize I'm fighting for it. Then they're like, oh, sorry. But not the big stuff lah.
So if they don't say sorry for the big stuff, like, do they do anything to substitute? Like, I feel like Singaporean parents have this thing where they give you like cut fruit. Or like they ask you whether you eat already, that kind of thing.
Yeah. For me, it's pretending that they weren't angry at me and everything is back to normal.
No, mine is that, plus suddenly they'll be like, Shivani, do you want ice cream? And I'll be like, oh, I guess you're not angry with me anymore. I mean, I think to answer the first question, I think my parents, as I got older, or maybe it's as they got older, then they mild out a bit. Then I think if they have more room to kind of think about life and their relationships, they're like, oh, sorry. But even then, it feels like you have to like wring it out of them and they'll be like, sorry, and then run away.
Okay, so we actually did a survey like with some like people like on social media, and like I think 50% of them said that their parents do apologize first. I'm not part of that 50%, but okay. So there was this story like from someone where she shared about like how and why her parents apologized first. So this person basically shared that like she was having a breakdown because she did something wrong. Like she was like full on crying like for 2 hours kind. So at the start, her mom was like blaming her like for everything until she started to express that actually she's been feeling very lonely all these years, and like her mom has been so selfish, so biased, so demeaning. And her mom at this point still wasn't very shocked because like the daughter or like the child, I don't know gender, has like said this like a few times before already. But then the child brought up this counselling session where she was there with her mom. And then she told her that actually she's contemplated committing suicide like a few times. And at that point in time, her mom's first response was just, am I just a horrible mother then? Yeah, so like the child felt like this is such a selfish response because basically like she's trying to tell you about like herself, right? Like her own problems, and you're like, this is about me, it's my fault. Yeah, so when she brought this up in the middle of the breakdown, then her mom suddenly had this epiphany and was like, oh, like I parented you wrong. So like she hugged her and she like apologized. So I think personally that it's nice that her mom even went for the counselling session with her, but I also feel like it's very weird that like it always has to come to a situation where someone brings up like suicide or something very extreme, like for parents to like willingly apologize. Otherwise it's like what you said, you have to like bring it out of them.
I think for this situation, why when the girl said that she wanted to commit suicide, then the mom maybe that was like a joke to her, like, okay,
in a counselling session.
Just my kid being in a funny, silly, joking mood.
Where she mentioned like commit suicide, then I think the mom realized how serious it was. Therefore, she really decided, yeah, maybe I really did something wrong. Then she apologized. But before that, maybe she felt that the kid was, in a way, I don't know, she didn't really take the kids' problem seriously, or she felt like maybe just a small thing. I mean, kids go through different phases of like, I did a lot of stupid things. It's hard for the parents to gauge where is the line that I apologize and where do I don't and play the disciplinary.
The first time I remember my dad apologizing for anything substantial beyond like just not into me kind was he'd watched like some K-drama, the name I cannot remember, like how to be okay, not be okay, that one.
Okay to not be okay.
Yeah, which I still haven't watched, but he opened my room, he was like, Shivani, I just watched this K-drama. It's about like the kids dealing with their parents traumatizing them. Haha. And I was like, okay. And he was like, did I ever traumatize you? Joke, like parentheses, joking. And then I was like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, sorry. And then he left the room. And I was like, So I was like, oh, have they just not thought about it in the same way that we've thought about how we've been parented?
Okay, we can agree, right, that like Asian and Singaporeans don't really apologize much. So why do you think that they're less likely to apologize first?
I think Asian parents, it's more from they're more authoritative, they are in the right kind of position, right? It's very different. The Western parents, I think they raise their kids to be, I'm raising my kids so that one day you are independent from me, you don't need me. But an Asian parent is not that sense. It's like, I'm smarter, I have more knowledge, so you listen to me first. And then when you're older, maybe we can have some sort of like a less power divide relationship.
So it's like a culture difference, like it's an Asian culture.
Yeah.
I feel it's a combination of the authority, the understanding of authority, and then save face for themselves, kind. And then I think it's also a mix of like a lot of intergenerational trauma. It's how they were raised, and so they were like, oh, I came out fine, so I guess I will just continue on. But then if you think about it a bit longer, you're like, that's a really messed up way of... That's one, messed up in terms of like, I don't know, child rights or whatever, but also just ineffective because you're creating another problem. You're not necessarily solving whatever problem your kid is having.
Maybe it's also a generation divide because... Don't be so
Oh,
mean.
you mean between us?
No, not between, between the
Parent.
kid and parent. Because the boomers' parents were like, I am just going to give my kid enough food to eat, right? That's how the boomer, when they were kid, right? Then the boomer become parent. So they're like, okay, I give you food and maybe like a bit of support already, correct? Yeah, and that's enough. Then now there's like the Gen Z who's like, I got food, I got support, I also want more. And then that's when the parent, like the generation gap, but their parent has not really crossed over their line.
When I was researching for this podcast, like there was this other thing that could also have impacted our culture that I didn't know about before. So have you all heard of this thing called like Confucianism?
Yeah.
Broadly.
Okay, so for those who don't know, basically, Confucianism is this like ancient like Chinese belief system, and it focuses on the importance of personal ethics and morality. Yeah, so Confucius, like the guy that this was based on, right? Basically, he believes that like for there to be peace and harmony, every relationship must fall under a strict hierarchy. And one of these relationships being between the parent and child. How it affects Singapore is that basically I was asking some of my friends, and apparently some of them have gone for like Confucianism classes when they were younger. Yeah, so it's like a weekly thing, right? Then they have to memorize this thing called 弟子规. So translation is like rules of being a disciple or like a child. Okay, so inside this 弟子规, there are teachings like, for example, when parents reprimand, one must accept. That means no talking back angrily or sarcastically, no display of defiance or rejection of the reprimand in any form. And even if you think that your parents are wrong or unjust or whether they're overacting, like you just have to respect the right that like they can reprimand you. Yeah, basically, you have to respect that, right?
Boo.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Tomato.
So, okay, one thing that I found super shocking was this part, right, where they said that, like, as the kid, like, okay, so let's say, like, we talk about, like, parents that will hit you and stuff, right? So, if you, as a kid, know that, like, the punishment is going to, like, severely, like, injure you, you have the responsibility to run away. And if you don't, you are doing wrong because you are being an accomplice to your parent for injuring you severely. So, it's not your parents' fault for hitting you, it's your fault.
Boo.
Okay. Your thoughts.
So you're telling me this doesn't come from me because 我是印度人. But so you're telling me if my alternate reality Confucianism abiding parent kill me, it's my fault.
It's your fault that you didn't run away before they killed you.
Put that on my urn. Didn't run away fast enough.
I'm not explaining Confucianism, but I see what he's trying to do. If he go and tell you to like fight your parent, right, then it's non-stop like two people are like clashing. So it's not going to be productive as well if two parties are clashing. So one party should kind of give way. But not saying in a way that you give way or I'm wrong, I'm the loser. But you give way and then you also on your side like process what your parent has done to you and then like decide for yourself, was I really in the wrong or did my parent actually said something that food for thought for myself?
And so in a sense, you still have to think independently.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, parents are also being parents their first time. So you cannot expect them to be perfect. So if you're, and some parents, no matter what, they ain't gonna change what. So you on yourself, I know it's asking a lot for a kid.
No, I was laughing at the end.
Yeah, but maybe if you are that aware of all these kind of things, then yeah, I don't know, when you're a kid, try and prevent less generation trauma for yourself.
Okay, 8-year-old me will try to do that. I'll tell myself that. Okay, so at this point, I just want to say that like this 弟子规 is actually not written by Confucius himself. It's written by Mr. Lee. This guy, will write his name here. Yeah, so he was the one who wrote it. So some people on the internet do say that this is kind of like a bastardized form of like Confucianism, and like it actually doesn't like coincide with like what Confucius himself thinks about like filial piety. So don't bash Confucius after this. But yeah, this is what they learned during the class, and this is what they had to memorize.
Boo.
Yes. Okay, so in the survey that we did with like people like on social media and stuff, like we also asked some of them, don't look like
I can't even read. Just this. Okay.
What do you wish your parents would apologize to you for? Okay, so these are some stories. So some of them said that like I wish he would apologize whenever he accuses me of doing something wrong or not doing something. Like he will normally just keep quiet after I argue back, and he tries to mitigate after that by changing his accusatory tone and talking about something else to like calm me down. Okay, so that's the first one.
Retweet.
Okay, then another one said, for constantly breaking boundaries I tried to set with her, and sharing things I told her in confidence with other people.
I don't know, but when I read these questions, I have a lot of questions. Like, what kind of secret? Because I did stupid things, then I told my mom. Then I was like, don't tell people. It's really stupid things. Then she go and tell, then I hear. Then as a kid, I was very offended. But as an adult now, I'm like, it's like, yeah, I can see why she tell. Like, it's really not a secret.
I mean, I think generally if a kid says something in confidence to their parent, because you're very vulnerable. You think your friend get another friend as the end of the world. So you're very like, ayo, stupid, sayang. So like in that very vulnerable stage of life, if you say something in confidence to your parent, then your parents say to someone else, like tell the whole world, then it's very humiliating. What?
If they want to tell, can, but make sure the kid don't know lah. Like, then, you know what?
I'm sorry. Wait.
Some of the things are really stupid.
We move on, right, to what we were talking about just now. Like, why are Gen Zs like nowadays like so angry about their parents refusing to apologize first?
Because they are too woke, honestly. I mean, for my generation, I didn't think anything was wrong.
Oh.
To be fair.
Generation divide.
Like actually.
Yeah. As a millennial, I think I really never go and like think back. I mean, especially when I was a kid, I never go and think, hey, actually my parents did this wrongly, that one wrongly. Like, I was just trying to please my parents and like not like, please don't scold me so much. And then I was just trying to like, okay, I'm going to do something that they don't like, but then I'm trying to like, hopefully they don't scold me as much. I'm always trying to build the bridge, like, while still charting my own path lah. So I never really go and think, my parents, like now I don't go and think back, my parents should apologize for this, apologize for that lah. I don't know what y'all think.
I think it's like at some point as a kid, when you move through like adolescence, then you're a young adult, then you like, I don't know, journal, go for therapy, talk to your friends, and then you realize, hey, actually these collective experiences I had as a kid because of my parents shaped me into this person with these like negative attributes that I don't like about myself.
I think right, it's because now when, I don't know whether it's a culture or what, but every time you feel like, hey, why am I like that, right? Then you always think, oh, it's because my parents when I was young did this, so now the effects is this. So actually I'm struggling, I'm having all these difficulties because it's my parents' fault. So therefore, my parents should apologize. I think there also needs to be reflection on your own self, because there are people, I mean, my friends and stuff, I've seen people who went through very bad parental situation, but they're okay now. Like they look fine. And then I've seen people who went through very bad parental situation. Until now, it's like still saying that I'm like this because it's my parents' fault.
I agree. I think that like it cannot be like every negative like fault about you now is like, oh, it's because of like my parents' fault. Like you still need to like kind of like think through and reflect on yourself, like what you said, which I think that if you're a sound, logical person that isn't trying to like externalize blame, you should be doing that. But okay, so that interestingly comes to the effects also of like what happens like when our parents don't really apologize to us. So okay, I asked like some people like in psych, and like these are some of the things that they mentioned. So when our parents don't apologize like to us like first in a relationship when it is their mistake, sometimes like we can like grow up struggling with accountability like of our mistakes. So even if like we are the ones like who did something wrong, we don't apologize because when we were younger, like our parents who are our role model didn't apologize to us also. Yeah, so there's that. And then there's the whole like externalization of blame also. Like they also play the blame game, and like it's a very like always like my way or the highway kind of thing.
I think it's the intergenerational trauma thing, where like if you don't wrestle with it within yourself, then you're just gonna continue the behavior, unless you put effort into like breaking the cycle or whatever lah. Because I do see those things coming up for me also, where I have no idea how to deal with conflict because my parents had no idea how to deal with conflict with me, where it was just like, something happened, scold, cry. Do you want ice cream?
I think I'm just very interested to see how Gen Zs will be as parents.
I don't know how many Gen Zs you'll see as parents because of this actually. I've talked to a few people about this. Like I feel like when people want to be parents, they should go through like some form of like counselling or like some form of like self-reflection to like fix whatever like kind of trauma you've gone through and like all the bad things that like your parents have like inflicted on you, to make sure that you don't inflict the same thing like onto your children. Yeah, so I think it's a good thing that there is such an awareness, and like even if they do want to have kids, they don't want to like repeat the cycle again.
I always feel that parents should actually, to become parents, you should have a license.
I also think so. But
That's eugenics, guys.
No, but of course the license, not like it's like a table format, like 5 point, 10 point kind of thing. But you
Like you go through a course.
Some sort of thing.
yes.
You want to drive, you also need license. What? Then you want to have kid, you don't need a
Like human
license.
life.
Like you don't need some sort of parenting course. Then it's like, it just doesn't make sense to me lah.
the conclusion is that
Your kids just listen to your parents lah. Don't ask so much questions. We should have a parenting license course.
Our new initiative, weKaypoh, introduces Parenting 101.